British Airways have pulled advertising from Louis Theroux's podcast because his latest guest was Bob Vylan. The airline has withdrawn its adverts from the journalist's podcast after he interviewed Bobby Vylan, whose real name is Pascal Robinson Foster. British Airways told the PA media that the podcast content breached its sponsorship policy. A spokesperson said, "Our sponsorship of the series has now been paused and the advert has been removed. We're grateful that this was brought to our attention as the content clearly breaches our sponsorship policy in relation to politically sensitive or controversial subject matters." Let's take a look at a clip.
End, the IDF does not rhyme. Wouldn't have caught on, would it? Do you know what I mean? Because that is what we're up there to do. We are there to entertain. We are there to play music. I am a lyricist, right? Deaf to IDF rhymes. Perfect chant.
Do you stand by the chant, and would you chant that on stage now?
Oh yeah, like what if I was to go on Glastonbury again tomorrow? Yeah, I would do it again. I'm not regretful of it. I'm not regretful of it. Right. I do it again tomorrow, twice on Sundays. Right. I'm not regretful of it at all. Like the subsequent backlash that I've faced, it's minimal. It's minimal compared to what people in Palestine are going through. If that can be my contribution, if I can have my Palestinian friends and people that I meet from Palestine that have had to flee, that have lost members in double digits of their family, and they can say, yo, like your chant, I love it, or it gave me a breath of fresh air or whatever. And I don't want to overstate the importance of the chant. That's not what I'm trying to do. But like, if I have their support, and they're the people that I'm doing it for, they're the people that I'm being vocal for, then what is there to regret?
It does have a point though. And the IDF, it has no ring to it. But look, here's the real insane thing. Louis Theroux has interviewed Nazis, right? The Westboro Baptist Church and Jimmy Savile, right? That's the nature of Louis Theroux, right? He does documentaries and interviews, and he will literally interview everyone. No one is too extreme. Bob Vylan isn't extreme, by the way, but the point I'm making is no one gives a shit when it's them. But British Airways have pulled advertising because Bob Vylan said he doesn't regret chanting death to the IDF. Remember, right? An occupying army, a terrorist organisation of a genocidal state. Well, that was too far. Helena, what are your thoughts on this?
Very much linked to our previous story about the supposed ideology of corporations, insofar as you can never really trust to be able to continue doing what you're doing if you rely on the platform or the sponsorship or the interest of private interests, because as soon as anything controversial creeps up, they'll want to be able to get gone immediately quickly, because fundamentally for them, they have a brand image that they want to be able to use to maximize revenue. And if they think that their brand will be undermined by linking it to something controversial, they'll pull the plug. You can't guarantee this stuff because, again, they have an interest that's greater than the supposed kind of support of whatever it is that you're making, you know? Like, of course, I agree with your statement about the reality of what was being said there, in the, yeah, like, why should anyone care about saying death to the IDF? Like, who should care? It's an army. Like, people who serve in armies die. Like, it's a war. That's what they keep telling us, right? It's like, oh, well, you're sad about Palestinians dying. Well, it's a war. People die in a war. And I'm just like, well, civilians aren't supposed to die. At least not those who are ones who don't need to do so because of legitimate military aims. And I don't think the ethnic cleansing of Palestine totally and genocide is a legitimate military aim. Do you? I don't think many people would agree with that statement, you know? And yet, one people who you'd expect to die on a battlefield to be members of an army, and a genocidal terrorist army that's trying to ethnically cleanse Palestine, no sympathy. Like, no sympathy at all. And as you point out, the what's ludicrous here is that British Airways somehow didn't care when it was Daniela Weiss, when it was the Westboro Baptist Church, when it was actual neo-Nazis, right? Some guy who led a chant on stage, a punk rock musician getting up on stage and saying something controversial. Guards, please. It's just what a gigantic storm in a teacup this whole thing was. It's because if somebody, for example, said death to Hamas, do you think there would have been any of the same kind of outrage? Of course there wouldn't be. You know? And it just shows you about how Western interests are seen globally as being beyond criticism, or at least beyond the same kind of criticism that those that aren't of the West are perfectly fine to be criticised in that same way.